Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. I'm your host, Tricia Carr, and this is a mini episode. It's an excerpt from a recent Mystic Arts Academy class. This class was all about connecting with fairies and the elemental realm. And this particular clip, well, I'm talking about dragons. I hope you enjoy. Elementals, nature spirits, fairies, the Fae realm, the elemental devas, so many different words that we use to describe the beings of this realm or these realms. And what I want to start with is dragons. The reason to start with dragons is because dragons are really great at working in energy of density, where there has been a lot of dense, chaotic, painful, or suffering activity. So I'm going to just start with them generally and welcome them in to hold space for us and to communicate and help me to communicate the information of how we can work with the realms of nature in a way that benefits ourselves and the all. And so dragons are beings that exist in the etheric or the spiritual realms. They are real. They are not the evil kinds of, at least this isn't what we're talking about when we're using the word dragon, I should say. It's not the evil, dangerous, threatening type that you'll see in certain kinds of mystic lore. Now, there are beings that people, thought forms, energies and everything that they may be connecting to that do that. And then there are also probably in this endless multiverse beings that resemble reptile beings or something like that, and they may be physical or partially physical or energetic, but that all of that is aside, and what we're talking about are the benevolent beings that work as in the realms of nature as well as the realms of ascended natural energies. Dragons are, as I say, they work with the realms of nature, so they do work elementally. They work with the four elements that this planet is composed of, and they also work with cosmic energies. So in that sense, you could say there are dragons that work with different densities or dimensions of energy. And so some are working with fourth density energies, and those would be ones that really relate to the four elements of our planet, and the even fifth dimensional ones would potentially be composed or working with some of the elements that compose our planet. And then there are ones that work in higher frequency, so they would work more cosmically. They could be orienting to other planets who have similar elemental composition as us, or different, distinctive elemental composition as us. And what dragons, the reason we associate this tier or sort of collective of beings with this form that looks a bit like it's reptilian and, the dragons with the wings, is because they're the ones who work in the elemental realms, and from the elemental realms of our planet were once beings on this planet. Now, as to whether they were physical matter in the exact same way as we are, or if they were something a bit of more lighter composition of energy, so they may have been more fourth density, and then the beings who were third density, like us humans are, were also, in a consciousness sense, able to experience them, or if they were actually physical. That I don't know, and I'm not sure that I think it's kind of both is the reason why I'm not really sure about that. As I ask, it seems like they were mostly using forms they weren't creating forms that were totally third density. And when I say third density, I mean like this kind of physical matter. But they could, and so at times they did, but it wasn't as useful for them to be creating a form that was exactly like this. So they may be sometimes confused with dinosaurs or some other kinds of beings who actually did live on this planet as third density forms. But we're talking about a consciousness collective that is fourth density and higher, and probably only working in creating fourth density forms at the most proximate to this plane. And then also they work with the inner planes. So they work with second dimensionality, first dimensionality, and densities. And that is obviously in relation to those elemental earth, water, fire, air as well. And that's how they are connecting with those forms. So as it concerns all of the beings who are elemental, and they are working with fourth density and higher forms, the reason they are not third density is because to be third density, you're composed of all four of the physical elements of this planet. You're composed of fire, water, earth, and air. So as it concerns this class today, we're talking about elementals, and including dragons. They are composed of 1, 2, or 3 of the elements, so not all 4. And this is why they're not on the same light spectrum of third density, and which is why we do not perceive and understand them the same way that we do other third density forms. If you enjoyed this or any of the Charmed Life podcast episodes, I invite you to like, subscribe, share, or comment, or leave us a review on Apple iTunes or however you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are. How would you describe the ideal student for the 2020 Energy Intensive with Crystalline Compton and Tricia Carr? I kind of set my life up so that for the most part, I was closed metaphysically. You know, the stories that I tell about my opening, and it was like I decided on a whim to get a 15-minute psychic reading. I had never considered that in all of my 39 years, and I did. And the reason I decided to get that first reading of my entire life, never having considered it, was because I was like, why wouldn't I? I'm curious. And, the reasons of the past were that something to do with religion or something to do with some other set of fear that my mind is weak, or some other kind of like fear of being ridiculed by the pragmatic people who say that it's a crutch and it's silly. And I was like, screw all of that. I didn't know a thing. And then, like my journey after that, she said the word empath to me, and I'm like, what, like Counselor Troy? So I had no exposure to metaphysical content, but I was ready. And so I am the perfect student, even though I was like, didn't know the word energy healer at that time. And my guides, as I was connecting with them in meditation, were showing me light on my hands and saying energy healer. And I hadn't heard that word before, but I would have been the perfect student. You know what I mean? Like, as I was feeling.
Exactly, because you were in that energetic composition of readiness. And also, you're such a great example, if I can just say, of someone who said yes over the course of the spiritual path, because so many people are so tentative. They don't really say yes. But we always say, when you do say yes, when you sign up for a class like this, when you agree to go meet your tribe and fellowship with other people to study and to really immerse yourself in things of the spirit, when you say yes on that level, spirit always meets you right where you are and gives you everything that you need, and an acceleration truly takes place. I won't say your age, but it's only been, a handful of years since your 39th year, and look where you are today. It's truly like you're a teacher, you have a podcast, you have many, many clients, you have your own business, you're quite successful, but you are also such a light to this world. Imagine if you didn't have the requisite curiosity, and if you didn't have that energetic confidence, without all the facts, imagine if you had just said no, or I'll just wait, where would you be? And so for those who are kind of on the fence about exploring study and exploring their own spiritual and intuitive and energetic development, this is the reason why you want to say yes, because so much is possible when you do. Everything opens up to you when you do.